Hello to anyone who has an ear to listen. I have a globe sitting next to me, and it's my opinion and how I feel the world is today. It's not a blue ocean anymore, it's black. And that's what our world is today. And we can thank modern day technology for what has happened to our world. The world has become desensitized. I suffered from mental illness for 11 years because I saved my mother from elderly abuse, only to wind up being abused by my own family out of the greed of money. Money, money, money. Our United States of America, I do not have any respect for anymore. I don't I I don't consider myself black or white. The Bible never mentioned anything about color of the skin. There was no racism like that during those biblical days, as far as I could see. I've never come across that. The people in more modern day societies decided that black people were not as good as white people. I remember back in the 70s, the Cubans thought they were better than the Puerto Ricans. And then I live here in the South, and you got black churches and white churches. I don't think that that was the message that Jesus was trying to portray, to separate ourselves by the color of our skin. And we all came from the same place. The only reason why our features and the color of our skin changed was when we migrated to colder climates. In the warm climates, you need really wide nostrils in order to breathe in all that heat. But then when they started migrating to the colder climates, evolution changed the way we looked. Our color of our skin brightened more, and our noses got smaller because you don't need big nostrils for cold weather. But we're all the same people. I went to get my nails trimmed at a podiatrist yesterday, and although I am French and Indian, they asked me what my race was. I don't see myself as French and Indian anymore. I put down other, and then I put down human. I'm of the human race. Dogs are from the dog race. They don't know color. They're all different colors. That's the other thing about animals. You know, God created this earth the way he wanted it to. And people just weren't happy with what he created, evidently, because then they decided to create different dogs. This world has been patented and pended and sold. It has been sold. People even amazingly buy stars. People have all these holidays, and especially Christmas time. If anybody looks at the news after Christmas, all they talk about is how Christmas stimulated the economy. It's all about getting the people to spend their money. I wonder how many people out there at Christmas time spend money that they really can't afford, and it bothers them that they have to do it, but they feel that they have to because it's Christmas. In my opinion, when you do that, you're sinning against yourself. You're doing something you don't really want to do. I believe that every day should be special. I was abused by my daughter, and my mother was abused by my sister, mental, emotional, and almost physical on both of us. And I have seen the roots of all evil. I had suffered from depression and anxiety after I saved my mother from the hands of my sister of elderly abuse. And one night, while I was under psychiatric care, I went over to my daughter's house, and I was depressed as usual, which is understandable. I didn't even see the forest for the trees because they had me so drugged up on medications. I couldn't think straight. And it took me 11 years to realize that my family was abusing me. I left them all. I'm 65 and I have no family now. But I went to my daughter's house at Christmas. It was evening and I was needy. I needed someone to talk to. I wasn't getting any love. Does anybody know what that feels like not to be loved? I know because I've had a lot in my life. So I'm trying to learn how to love me. As far as churches, you got black churches, you got white churches. You know, there, there's very seldom that you go into a black church and see very many white people and vice versa, you know. And I really don't think that's what the Jesus in the Bible wanted us to be, you know. There's nothing in the Bible that talks about this person's black and that one is white and this one's not any good, but that one is because he's white and he's black, or he's black and he's white. I went to a podiatrist yesterday and it asked me what was my race. I put down other, and then I put down human. I'm a member of the human race. I'm neither black nor white. I'm not purple or green. Because you see, this body here that I have is no more than a shell. It's nothing more than a shell. It's what's inside of me that lets people know who I am. I'm not a bad looking woman for 65. And I see men, I have to say this, many men, they don't want to be with you unless they have sex first. If the sex is good, then they'll hang out with you. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. We're losing love, and we're losing love in technology. People are not, they're, even on the internet, people have become so desensitized, that they stop caring for each other, and I'm one of those people that I believe to imagine. I don't want this world to be black, but that's exactly what it is. And the United States, in my opinion, is the pill factory of the world. There are so many pills on the market, and there was a pill that actually helped kill my mother 11 years ago. It was a med, I can't remember the name, Avandia, I think it was called, and it was for diabetes. And they failed to put on the label that it could cause strokes. Well, my mother had a stroke, and after she died, my sister, who committed elderly abuse against her, filed a lawsuit against the company. There was a class action lawsuit, and she didn't want to have to give me any of the money because I didn't do the work, because I'm not greedy. I never thought about trying to sue. I have had enough. I've seen too much evil with money, but she had no choice but to give me a part of the money, whoever was on the will. So we got $7,000 for the death of my mother. And that's not enough. Actually, there's no money that could pay for my mother, because human beings are priceless. There should not be a price on a human being. Psychiatrists and doctors, they're called practicing. When they give you psychiatric medicines, when they come up with a new product, they don't have any idea if it's really going to work. In other words, we are human guinea pigs in the medical field and in the psychiatric field. And they're giving these psychiatric drugs to young children. For being hyperactive. Some kids are hyperactive. Many of them are. They like to run, jump, and play. You know, it amazes me they're giving drugs to kids that are hyperactive. You got to be kidding me. They're giving drugs to little children, and we don't know what the long-term effects are of these drugs. I was on psychiatric medicines after my mother died. Oh, after I saved her from elderly abuse. I was on them for 11 years, and they literally made me comatose. I couldn't even cry, and I couldn't see for the life of me that I was being abused by my family. I no longer have family. I have nobody. I trust animals more than I trust people because animals never hurt me like people did. But technology has destroyed our world. They have videos on YouTube of the 1900s. They have actual video, live video, and it talks about what it was like back then to a certain degree. They didn't have the mental issues that we have today. In my opinion, I think they're making up stuff. I remember when my daughter was about 14, she was sent to a psychiatrist. This was years ago. And the psychiatrist said she had a mental illness. And I couldn't believe it. I laughed. I said, my daughter's spoiled. Now they give you pills for being spoiled? They will give you pills for anything. I was given pills for depression. Back in the 70s, when you had depression, you had depression when somebody died. Anybody can get depression. Does that mean that's mentally ill? No, I think it's absolutely natural. It's natural that when somebody dies, you're going to be depressed. But what's not natural is to fill somebody with a bunch of pills so they can't feel their feelings and they can't mourn. I was not able to mourn my mother's death for the whole 11 years. I've been mourning her lately. How was I going to mourn when I was so drugged up? I couldn't feel. I was in a psychiatric hospital one time, and my doctor came by me, my psychiatrist, and he saw me crying, and he looked at me and he said, we got to fix that. What, give me more pills? We don't need pills. We need love. We need good group therapies, something that gets to the heart of the reason why we were sick in the first place. Why were we depressed? Why? I went in the hospital in November when I got away from my daughter, once I realized that I was seriously being abused, and I stayed there for a month and a week. And before I left, my psychiatrist wanted to give me lithium on top of the other 5 medications I'm already on. And what did I need it for? I didn't go in there because I had mental illness. I went in there because I became homeless, because I was being abused. So why do I need that? I need support. So what I'm doing now is waiting for this. There's a group therapy coming up for people that have suffered from traumatic experiences. And believe me, I have through my 11 years in the mental field of psychiatry. They treat you badly in some of the hospitals. Some of the techs treat you badly. They don't have real serious group therapies. They just have these mild things. The rest of the day, you're just coloring in coloring books like that's going to help you. They're not helping you. They're drugging you. And it makes me wonder, what are the long-term effects? I just don't want to, I hope that not many children, and it seems like it's going to happen. How many children are taking these psychiatric drugs now? They're tampering with what God created. They have tampered with everything. They have literally patented in this world, and they sold it. They even sell rocks, a diamond. They call it a diamond. It is a rock that God put on this planet, I believe, for us to admire. It's a beautiful rock. But they put a label on it, they named it, and people will spend thousands of dollars on a rock. That's unbelievable. It is, and all for what? To put it on your finger, to show it off and say, look what I got. to make people envious. I don't think that's what the Jesus in the Bible wanted us to be like. I really don't. And I don't think that Jesus wanted racism. I believe that he loved everybody. So these people that sit there and go to their stupid churches, you got the black church, you got the white church. You might see a couple of white people in the black church, and you might see a couple of white people in the white church. They separated each other by the color of the stupid skin. I went to a podiatrist yesterday, and it asked me what my race was. And I put down other. And then I wrote down human. I am human. I am color blind. I don't look at a person and dislike them because of the color of their skin. If I dislike a person, it's how they behave around me. I want to know who the person is inside, not outside. This world has changed drastically. I'm 65. This world has changed so drastically since 1965. I lost my doctor. I had to find a new doctor. And nowadays, you got to be approved to go see a doctor. That wasn't like that. Back in my time, if you needed a doctor, you made a phone call, you talked to the doctor's assistant, and they made an appointment for you, and you came on in. That's how it was. We even had a doctor in our town that made house calls. He really cared. The doctors today, in my opinion, many of them, I won't say all, there are some good ones still, but many of them are very desensitized. They really are, and they're arrogant, and they think they know it all. They might have gotten a big degree as a doctor, but they didn't learn how to be a human being. They didn't learn compassion. There's no compassion left in many of these doctors, and I know what I'm talking about because I have experienced it through my mental illness. And I've been trying to see about changing the way that medical doctors look at psychiatric patients, because every time I go to an emergency room, they always say I have anxiety, even when I'm actually sick, when there's something really wrong with me. And they don't believe me. They think that mental illness, if you're mentally ill, my God, anybody can get depression. I wonder how come my psychiatrist never has depression. I bet you he never takes those damn pills that I take. And there's not a person on this planet that doesn't suffer depression sometime in their life. Nobody is perfect. But he walks around all happy, joyous, and free at the expense of the people that he's destroying on these psychiatric drugs. Before I left his office, he told me that I was in big trouble, that I'm high risk. I looked at him, I said, high risk? I said, I'm at high risk whether I'm on drugs or not. I said, through the 11 years, even on the drugs, I've been in and out of the hospitals. They love to keep you. They make money on every script they fill, believe me on that. One time I went in his office and he tried to give me sleeping pills. I didn't tell him I was having a problem with sleeping. Why do you want to fill me with sleeping pills? He already had me filled with 5 different prescriptions. Then he wanted to add lithium. What's he trying to make me? The United States is one big pill factory. This whole United States, everybody's depending on pills for this, pills for that. I'm surprised they haven't found the pill for love. If they did, they would patent that and sell it too. They would. So 10 years ago, after my mother died, I told a counselor, you know what I want to be when I grow up? He said, what? I said, a little old lady with a smile on my face. I didn't ask for anything else, just a smile. I want to find peace. I've had a very hard life. I had a very traumatic childhood. There was so much that happened to me in my childhood. I was sexually abused, mentally abused, beaten, Almost, I was kidnapped once, almost kidnapped another time. I was abused by nuns in the Catholic school and in the Catholic church. A Catholic school teacher tied me to a chair one day, tied me like a hog, with my hands tied behind the chair, wrapped the rope around my body. And the nuns, if you were so-called bad, they had these black straps that they would make you close your knuckles, and they would hit you with that black strap until your knuckles bled. Until they bled. And you didn't go home and tell your mother or father. I was being beaten by my parents, beaten by the church. I mean, when does it end? You know, it's too bad that nobody actually tries to find peace in this world. And the other thing that really upsets me is the beautiful land that God created for us to all share and enjoy. It has become mostly cement. Cement. Everywhere you look, there is cement. Plenty of it. All in New York City. I wonder what New York looked like when it didn't have all those tall buildings. But they built the tall buildings to make money at the expense of God's green earth. They didn't appreciate what he gave us. Even the animals. I think, if I could be wrong, but I was told, but I could be wrong, that the wolf is the original dog. They weren't happy with what God created, so they created all kinds of other dogs by doing this, whatever they did. I don't know how they did it. You know, why do we want to tamper with what God gave us? Why? And, you know, my daughter told me I had ugly feet once, which is not a very nice thing to say. You know, in my opinion, I have very beautiful feet. And the reason why I say that, and if somebody's told they're ugly, or if they think they're ugly, they're not ugly. This is just a shell, you know, but people are so busy looking on the outside of a person, they don't want to know what's inside. The beauty is inside, not outside. And I know this because when I was young, my nickname was Worm, and everybody made fun of me. I had no friends. I had nothing. I had no family to turn to. My parents were alcoholics. You know, I had nobody. I literally was raised by animals. I literally learned unconditional love from animals, from dogs. They are beautiful. I love animals. I hung out with a lot of animals because I didn't have many friends. And they taught me a lot. When I take dogs for a walk, they act like they were going to the World's Fair. Just like, I mean, something that we don't think of and we don't appreciate. We don't appreciate the beauty of being able to go for a walk. My dogs, they were so happy. I mean, so happy. I'm in a safe place now. I don't have family. And yes, it hurts. It's devastating when you know your daughter hung a rope in your closet hoping you'd hang yourself. My daughter wanted me to die so she could get money. And that was the same thing that happened to my mother. Somebody needs to wake up. This world has changed so drastically. And the technology hasn't made us better. It's just a smokescreen. The people have changed so tremendously. It's gotten much worse. Like I say, I mean, they have the music today. I'm not against all rap music, but I am against rap music that degrades women, calling them hoe and all this stuff. That's disgusting. That's putting down the woman. We've been second-class citizens for so long, and we still are. You know, men treat us like we're some kind of a freaking trophy or something. My husband married me because I was a virgin. I didn't find that out until a few years after the marriage, and also because I had long hair. He didn't marry me because he loved me. When I figured out he married me because I was a virgin, because I had long hair, I went to the hairdresser and chopped my hair off real short. And not long after that, he left me. So, see, he didn't marry me for me. He married me for what I looked like. Anyway, I'm going to cut this short for now. I hope I make some sense.